Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's options watch list. Hopefully, you all had a wonderful weekend and are looking forward to getting back to trading here come Monday. So, before I get into the top 5 plays I'm looking at for the upcoming week, going to do a quick market breakdown on the ES futures here to see where we could potentially continue to go this upcoming week. So, that being said, let's get here into the ES on the daily time frame. If we zoom in here a little bit, we can see that we had this nice push above the 21 EMA, consolidated between that 21 EMA and the +1 ATR region. Finally decided on Thursday to break back down below, and this continued to bring sellers into Friday, giving us two strong closes below the 21 EMA and the daily time frame, looking for basically a retest of these previous supports down here. And now this upcoming week, what we need to watch is to see if this level holds and we get another bounce up to the 21, or if we continue to sell down to potentially that -3 ATR level. Um, we are losing the bullish momentum here on the squeeze histogram, which could easily let us fire this low compression squeeze, giving us more selling. So overall, this market is very, very bearish. We have negatively stacked DMAs. Nothing about this is showing us to go long right now. And especially if we look at the weekly time frame here, let me clean that up. We can see that the overall trend here is now still very bearish. So you get the break below the 21 EMA, you get the reversion, you get continued selling, and this time we couldn't even make it all the way back up to the 21 EMA. We only got up to the 8 EMA before we continued to see more selling to the downside. So if this trend continues like it has, we should technically make a lower low. So use this candle here, its last wick, we should technically break below that level to continue this downtrend. So keep your eye on this level as well. Another thing to keep your eye on is that this low compression squeeze has gotten more bearish momentum on it, so we easily could continue to sell off to the downside. So now a few things I'm looking at to the downside are, if I pull up some Fibonacci's here, we can see that if we take this previous swing low up to this previous swing high and we get our Fibonacci levels, I think the first thing that we're going to retest is this 100% level or this previous low here on the market, and this could be a place of support going forward where we get a bounce back up into the reversion. Or I think an even more realistic idea is that we break below this previous low, hitting this 1272 extension to the downside, which is right around that 3700 level, which is also a nice whole number. It's a good psychological number, so I think we easily could go test this level in the upcoming week or weeks ahead. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on the ES here. Overall, once again, it is still very bearish. I would advise you to mainly follow the trend and play more shorts than longs here. So that being said, I'll get into the 5 trades that I'm looking at for the upcoming week, and all of them, yes, are to the downside due to the overall market still looking very bearish. So first one here is BMY. We can see that we've had this great consolidation period here after a nice bull run, and usually if we get these strong or these long consolidation periods, we do need it to take a breather here to the downside after these long pushes higher. So what I'm looking at here is for this one to start to roll over a little bit with the rest of the market. So a structure here is showing me a little more bearishness than bullishness due to we do not have stacked DMAs. We have nice bearish momentum here on the squeeze histogram, and our price action is holding below the 21 EMA, and these last few weeks it hasn't been able to really hold above that level at all much. We had 2 closes above here, but just quickly rejected right back down to the downside. So I think if we can get a push back up into the 21 EMA, it would fill the gap that was created here on Friday, and then that would be a great place, in my opinion, to grab some shorts on this, as it should continue to fall to the downside. Next one here is Fortinet. This one is also a trade to the downside. And if we look here at the structure, we have no stacked DMAs at all. we're losing the bullish momentum here on the squeeze histogram, so it's looking to kind of slingshot to the downside. We are getting our first close now below the 21 EMA, as it had been holding it very nicely here these last few weeks. Ideally would like to see at least 2 or 3 closes below that level, and then a retest is where I'd like to then get an entry on this, but I do think that it does have a lot more room to the downside, just like the market as an overall whole. Next one here is Lucid Motors to the downside as well. Very similar story to the other stocks I've already discussed. We have no stacked DMAs. Our price action is holding below the 21 EMA, and this one's actually been rejecting this 50 simple moving average here for since way back in March? Yeah, the end of March it's been rejecting this 50 simple. So we get the rejection here, once more, once more, once more, once more, once more. So every time it's gone and hit that level, it's rejected it. So for me, instead of using the 21 EMA as an entry, I'm actually looking for this 50 simple, if it can get a reversion back up to that level, for an entry to the downside on this one. So I think that would be a great place, in my opinion, to enter some shorts if it can get back up to that 50 simple moving average. Next one here is Roku to the downside as well. This one, it does look a little more bearish compared to the other ones due to us having negatively stacked DMAs, so its trend is definitely in bearishness. So we can see that every time we get this reversion up, we break it. Back down to the downside, reversion, fall to -2, reversion, could even break above the +1, also rejecting this 50 simple, we're falling once again. So ideally early in this week we'll get a quick reversion up here to either the 8 or the 21, take an entry there, and look to take profits at these previous lows, as we do have a strong support right around that $75 region. So I think that'd be a great place to take profits on this one. We also do have a nice daily squeeze here with some bearish momentum starting to show itself on the squeeze histogram. So overall, this trend is still very bearish, and I think if we can get that nice reversion, this will be a good quick trade to the downside for this week. And then last but not least here, we have Shopify. Very similar story here to Roku, is that every time it's been kind of reverting, this one's even been reverting only up to the 8 EMA and getting rejected, and now we're finally getting these reversions up to the 21, but it still continues to reject it to the downside. We have negatively stacked DMAs, we're losing that bullish momentum on the squeeze histogram, and we just continue to keep rejecting that 21, just like basically every other stock I talked about today. Look for that quick reversion, hopefully early in the week, to get it back up to this 21, and then I'd say we load up on some shorts here on this one as well. So these are all the stocks I'm looking at. All of them look very bearish. Once again, look for those quick reversions, hopefully early in the week, back up to the mean. Take your entries there, and then hopefully this market will continue to sell off as well, giving us these next moves lower to the downside. So hopefully this gives you all a few other things to add to your own watch list, and let's go out there on Monday and start making some money, everybody.